Okay, let's dive in. We're unpacking a story, I mean, the story that everyone knows, RMS Titanic. But our mission today really is to get past the sort of myth. We want to investigate the specifics, the painful details of how this ship, hailed as unsinkable, how it ended up on the ocean floor in under 3 hours.
Exactly. And for you listening, we're looking at the sources to give you that thorough understanding, but quickly. Focusing on that cascade of failures, human, technical, all of it. It all kicked off April 10th, 1912. Left Southampton for New York, Captain Edward John Smith, 62 years old, very experienced, in command.
And the ship itself, I mean, the scale is just mind-boggling. And you can see why people felt so confident. It wasn't just a ship. It was like this massive statement,
Yeah.
269 meters long, over 53 meters high. Cost a fortune, maybe $400 million in today's money.
Yeah. A staggering amount. And that money bought incredible luxury, the kind of opulence that really fueled that whole invincible idea. We're talking stained glass mirrors, grand staircases, 2 of them, a heated pool, a gym, 4 restaurants. I mean, it was peak luxury for the time.
Built to impress, built to last. So with all that size and money, what was the actual engineering behind that unsinkable claim? What were they betting on?
Well, it wasn't just talk. There was some serious engineering behind it. 2 key things, really advanced for 1912. First, the double-bottom hull, 2 layers of steel. And second, even more critical, were the 16 separate watertight compartments dividing up the hull.
16 compartments. Okay.
And the calculation, the key design feature, was that the Titanic could supposedly stay afloat even if four of those 16 compartments were completely flooded.
4 out of 16. That does sound like a pretty safe margin, doesn't it?
It should have been.
But that's where the confidence, the maybe overconfidence, starts to look really dangerous.
Yeah.
Because they combine that belief with speed, lethal speed.
It's quite shocking when you look at the warnings they got. The ship sailed into waters the sources literally call replete with ice. They got the first ice warnings 2 days earlier, April 12th. Okay, they changed course twice, fair enough. But Captain Smith, he just didn't slow down, kept pushing at 21.5 knots. That's, what, 40 kilometers an hour?
40 kilometers an hour. Straight into an area known to have icebergs. Wow. And it gets worse on the day itself, April 14th. 7 more ice warnings come in. 7, and apparently all ignored. It feels less like an accident and more like they were daring the ocean.
It really does seem like a reckless gamble relying entirely on the ship's supposed strength, and the conditions that night were just terrible for spotting anything. Visibility was super low, no moon. Then, at 11:39 p.m., the lookout, Frederick Fleet, he spots it. A huge iceberg. Yells down to the bridge.
And just 1 minute later.
1 minute. 11:4 p.m. collision. But it wasn't like a head-on crash like you might imagine.
No. What did the sources say?
It was more of a graze, a long scrape along the side. But the iceberg was immense. Estimates are like 1.5 million tons, maybe 200 by 400 feet across. So this massive thing just bumps and scrapes along the front right side near the bow for about 10 seconds.
10 seconds. Not a huge crash, but
Yeah.
enough. What did it actually do to the hull?
It wasn't one big hole. It was more like a huge dent, apparently, with a series of smaller holes and gashes along the main hull plating.
Okay, so if they had that double bottom and those 16 compartments, why did a glancing blow, even from a huge iceberg, sink the unsinkable ship? What went wrong with the safety features?
Well, that's the crucial point. The double bottom. It was only on the bottom. The impact was along the side of the hull, which only had a single layer of steel plating.
So the double layer didn't even come into play there.
Pretty much useless in this specific scenario. And then the compartments. Here's the fatal math. That glancing blow breached 6 of them.
6, not 4.
6. 2 more than the design could handle.
So once that 6th compartment was breached, it was over.
Essentially, yes. The fate was sealed. Water would just keep pouring into the bow, weighing it down, tipping the ship forward more and more. And eventually, the water would spill over the tops of the bulkheads, separating the compartments, flooding the next one, then the next, like a row of dominoes,
Right.
dragging the whole thing down.
And the timeline from there just gets terrifyingly fast. 20 minutes after the hit, 12:40 a.m., Captain Smith orders the distress call.
Right. And help did respond quickly, in theory. The RMS Carpathia picked up the signal at 12:20 a.m.
But they weren't close, were they?
Not at all. 107 kilometers away. They estimated it would take them 3.5 hours, best case, to get there.
3.5 hours. So everyone on the Titanic knew, or should have known, they were basically on their own for a long time. Evacuation was everything.
But the evacuation, it was hampered by that same unsinkable myth. Initially, people just weren't panicked. They didn't believe it could actually sink.
So they weren't rushing for the lifeboats.
No. Protocol was women and children first, but that first lifeboat, it was lowered maybe half full. Capacity for 65, only 28 people got in. Just unthinkable now. They thought it was maybe precautionary, not a life or death situation yet.
And it obviously was. When did the mood shift?
Around 1 a.m., by then the bow was clearly going under. The ship started tilting steeply. That's when the panic must have set in.
And that's when the lifeboat shortage became horrifyingly real for everyone still on board.
Horrifyingly real is right. Only 20 lifeboats total. Space for about 1,200 people.
But there were 2,200 people on the ship.
Roughly, yeah. Passengers and crew. So simple math tells you over 1,000 people had absolutely no way off the ship, just stranded.
God, that's chilling. The end must have come quickly after that.
Brutally fast. Last lifeboat lowered at 2:05 a.m. Still 1,500 souls on board. Then, around 2:20 a.m., eyewitnesses in the boats reported seeing the ship break in two.
And then it sank. Less than 3 hours from hitting the ice.
Less than 3 hours. Around 1,500 people died. Most, as we know, from hypothermia in that freezing water. -2 degrees Celsius. Just lethal.
And Captain Smith.
Went out with the ship. Reports say he stayed at the wheel. The Carpathia finally arrived somewhere between 3:30 and 4 a.m., an hour too late for those in the water, found only the lifeboats and debris.
So this deep dive really shows it wasn't just bad luck with an iceberg. It was, like you said, a cascade.
Yeah.
And the investigations afterwards, they pointed fingers, right, at specific failures.
Yeah, absolutely. The inquiries laid bare some really profound systemic problems and human errors. Our analysis points to about 5 main contributing factors.
Okay, let's break those down. What's number one?
Well, we just touched on it, lifeboat insufficiency. It sounds basic, but it stemmed directly from that unsinkable belief. The White Star Line apparently saw extra lifeboats as just unnecessary clutter on the deck.
Clutter that could have saved lives. They only had enough for just over half the people.
Less than 55%, yeah. It was a decision made purely on confidence or maybe cost that doomed hundreds before they even set sail.
Just incredible. Okay, what's the next major factor?
Canceled safety drills. Captain Smith actually canceled safety drills. There was one scheduled for April 14th, the day of the collision.
He canceled the drill on the day it sank.
Yes. So when the disaster happened, the crew wasn't fully practiced on procedures, passengers had no idea where to muster, chaos ensued, especially with loading the few boats they had.
No practice, not enough boats. A deadly combination. Okay, factor 3 shifts from the system to a single person, doesn't it? Steersman error.
Right. This is about Robert Hinchins, the steersman on duty. In those critical seconds after the iceberg was spotted, the order was given hard to starboard, which meant turn the ship left, away from the ice. But Hitchens, apparently in a panic, either misunderstood or momentarily turned the wheel the wrong way, right, towards the iceberg, before correcting. That brief error might have been enough to ensure the side scraped the ice.
Turning into the danger instead of away. Just for a moment, but fatal.
Potentially fatal, yes. Then number 4 is just staggering negligence. The S. Californian failure.
The ship that was nearby.
Very nearby. Only about 37 kilometers away. Close enough that they probably could have reached the Titanic before it sank, or saved many more people from the water. But the Californian had stopped for the night because of the ice, and crucially, they'd switched off their radio.
Switched off their radio. In an ice field.
Yeah, and even worse, their officers saw the distress rockets the Titanic was firing, the standard signal for help.
But they didn't respond.
Captain Stanley Lord reportedly insisted they weren't distress signals. He dismissed them as maybe company signals or even fireworks from, and this is the quote, rich passengers partying.
Dismissing distress calls as a party. That's hard to comprehend.
Yeah.
Okay, and the 5th factor. Yeah. This one's more controversial, isn't it? The pressure theory.
It is. It involved J. Bruce Ismay, the chairman of the White Star Line, who was actually on board. The theory, and it's debated, is that Ismay pressured Captain Smith to maintain high speed, to potentially break the transatlantic speed record on the maiden voyage. Get some headlines, Some suggest Ismay might have even downplayed or hidden one of the later ice warnings from Smith to keep the speed up. Glory over safety.
Ambition overriding caution at the highest level. If true, that's damning.
It's a heavy accusation, yeah. But taken together, these 5 factors show a disaster that was far from just an accident. It was, you could say, built out of bad decisions.
But something good did come out of it, right? In terms of safety rules changing.
Oh, absolutely. The aftermath forced huge changes in maritime safety almost immediately. By 1914, the International Ice Patrol was set up. Its whole job is to track icebergs in the North Atlantic and warn ships. still operates today.
That makes sense. Direct response to the cause.
And arguably the biggest change was the first International Convention for the Safety of Life at Sea, or SOLAS, also in 1914.
SOLAS. That sounds important.
It was massive. It mandated, among many other things, what should have been obvious: enough lifeboats for every single person on board. No exceptions.
Finally. Took a disaster of this scale to make it law.
Sadly, yes. It marked the end of that era where a ship's perceived invincibility could override basic safety logistics.
And the wreck itself, it was lost for decades.
Yeah, found in September 1985 by Robert Ballard's team, lying super deep, 3,800 meters down, almost 4 kilometers. And it was in 2 main pieces, about 600 meters apart on the seabed, confirming those eyewitness accounts of it breaking up as it sank.
Okay, so wrapping this up. We started with the marvel of engineering, the luxury, the unsinkable promise. But this deep dive really hammers home that the Titanic sinking wasn't just one event. It was a chain reaction of human error, wasn't it? Ignored warnings, that steering mistake, the Californians' shocking inaction, and just this fundamental flaw in planning based on hubris.
Precisely. It's a story about overconfidence leading to tragedy. And that brings us to a final thought, something for you to ponder. Think about the irony. This ship was promoted as unsinkable, designed in a way to represent permanence, to last forever. But the physical wreck, it's actually disappearing.
Disappearing.
It's being actively consumed by deep-sea bacteria, microbes that are literally eating the iron hull. Scientists estimate that by around 2030, the wreck could be completely disintegrated. Gone.
Wow. So the unsinkable ship built for eternity will vanish.
Leaving behind only the memory, the lessons learned, the safety regulations it forced into existence, and the stark reminder of what happens when human ambition ignores reality.